After Trump's election in the United States, the number of applications from Americans actually went down.
No, that's not true. I don't know who, I mean, I love this most. It's like when you read European news by anonymous European diplomat, they said that Trump is such and such. Come on, like show your face, okay? No, actually, it's still up, and here's why.
Hello, ThinkBooks friends. Today we are back to a highly popular topic on our channel, Russia's simplified immigration program, mostly known as impatriation. To learn more about this topic, we went straight to the head of the project, Deputy of State Duma, Maria Butina. Welcome, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you. Let me make a quick recall for those unfamiliar. So, in August 2024, President Vladimir Putin signed a decree offering humanitarian support to individuals who share Russia's traditional spiritual and moral values. This initiative aims to attract people from specific nations whom the Kremlin sees as, quote, opponents of the destructive neoliberal ideological agenda in their home countries. In September, the Russian Foreign Ministry designated around 40 countries whose citizens can apply for temporary residence without requirements for language, history, or legal knowledge. Most of these nations are Western, including the United States, Canada, Australia, nearly all of the European Union, as well as Micronesia, Singapore, and Ukraine. This program provides a new pathway for those seeking to relocate to Russia. Maria, let me ask you the first question that is very popular among our subscribers, and we would like you to explain. This decree has been getting a lot of attention, including on our YouTube channel, where we have been getting a lot of questions about how people can apply and benefit from this program. Could you go over the application process with us step by step and just to give more details how it works?
Well, it's a very unique situation in the world, and for Russia today is when we have to open the borders for the Westerners who want to come to Russia because they do not support this non-traditional LGBT neoliberal agenda, and they are looking for the safe haven or the safe place for, first of all, their kids. Since I'm responsible for the actual realization of this project, what I see is 99% of the people who are coming, they're just looking for freedom for their kids. They want homeschooling, or they want to take their kids to the Christian school, or just to a school where they will not be exposed to this they call a sexual education. Mm-hmm. So they just be kids, normal kids. So that's why we had to open the gates, and Russia's system is still kind of developing in that sense, because we used to have migrants only from the Middle Asia, but now we do have this unique situation when people with money, well-educated Europeans, Americans, they're looking for buying property and living in Russia. So, and President Putin, when he signed a decree, he simplified the process to make it as available for people as possible. So basically, a person just claims that he disagrees with their neoliberal, non-traditional LGBT values, and he or she just wants to live in Russia and sees his or her life with Russia in our traditional society. So you go to the consulate, you bring your criminal record as usual, your passport as usual, and you fill the special blank. You just mention what your education is, and if you have a family, you write down that you have a family, since just the father can apply. So you don't need to, every time when you bring certain documents, bring all your kids in, because some families are bigger, they have like 5-7 kids. We have cases like that, quite a few. And you just go to the consulate for a personal interview, and here you go. You're granted a visa. When you come to Russia, you will be given the RVP status, which means temporary residence permit. Quite easy as well. The same package as the documents. you bring them to the MVD, and of course you can get all the step-by-step information on the consulate website. So I don't go into specific details, but it's a very easy process. So you don't need to pass a Russian test, you don't need to learn Russian language. Well, I would recommend to do so because you live in Russia, and it's actually makes your life quite easier if you do know the language in the country you live in, but you can do it over time. So this status, the temporary living status, will be valid for 3 months, and then you can extend it, or you can go to the actual residency. If you go to the residency, then you have to pass the language test. But again, it's up to you. You can extend your RVP status as much as you want for 5 years, doesn't matter.
There's no limit.
No limit. But if you go to your residency, then in 6 years you can get a passport. That's the bonus. If you stay on RVP status, then you cannot get a passport. So it's a choice that you make. So there are quite a few people who applied by today, and the top 5 countries I would mention. On the first place, it's France. Second is Germany. Third, United States, Australia, and Italy. This is top 5. And we actually even know where people go. So generally they choose Moscow region, obviously, but it should be also the first stop for the person because they know nothing about Russia. So the first trip, I would suggest to make a touristic trip. So you can kind of see if you've never been in Russia, it's not probably a smart idea to bring your family in before you know where you go. So most of the people, they do it. From Europe, you can get an electronic touristic visa, which is valid for 14 days. And you can just click one button online and you got your visa. So the top regions are Moscow and Moscow region. It's St. Petersburg and St. Petersburg, Leningrad Oblast. Also Nizhny Novgorod, Irkutsk, and Krasnodar. Krasnodar, I guess, because it's warm. Yeah, these are, well, again, I mention regions, which does not mean that people actually come to Krasnodar itself, but they might actually purchase land in the areas and they do their farming. Like in a couple of days, I will be meeting with this wonderful guy we met before. He's from France, and he came here to make a winery. So his business is actually in Krasnodar, but he himself lives in Moscow. That's his preference. And he makes great coupages, different mixes of the wine. So everyone chooses the occupation they like. Most of the families, however, they're professionals in IT. I guess it's because many people know how to search the information online if you are IT specialist. That's why. And yeah, we get a lot of questions how to get there. And yeah, it's limited to what we call unfriendly countries. The reason is simple. So because these people, they live under pressure for their kids to be even taken in certain countries like Germany or Canada, they need the spiritual asylum. And that's why we open the gates.
Thank you. But if you could describe just a typical person, typical applicant portrait, who is it?
Sure. Well, I would mention who are they, because that's a family. It's a family typically of 5, 3 kids and 2 adults, a mother and a father, not the parent number 1, no parent number 2, no. And they are about 35, 45 years old, so it's a good age. Usually he is working somewhere. She is not working, she is just a housewife. And they have profession, so they do have good education. And typically they want to work on their own, like having been an entrepreneur or doing some, remote work. And typically they choose a house to live, not actually a big city. A big city is why we see it in the statistics, because that's the first stop. And we just register the first stop because we don't know what happens next. And they are looking for a school. Typically, they choose a private school or they do homeschooling. Both options are possible in Russia. So, that's the typical portrait.
35, 45, yeah. Young, we would say. But for aging Westerners, thinking about making the move. There was also among our subscribers, among our viewers, we have a lot of, we can say, aging people. So they also asking questions. And For aging Westerners thinking about making the move, there is often the question of whether relocating to Russia is a good idea, especially given cultural differences and practical challenges. What are you?
Well, typically Europeans or Americans do not face any cultural differences because quite a few people speak in their languages here. And the culture is quite close to be Western. I would say they would face more challenges going, let's say, to the Arabian countries or to India, Indonesia, somewhere else, just because it's a big cultural gap and religious gap. Here, most of the people are Christians, and they take Christians easily. Europeans don't form any diasporas. They don't want to live like in Italian village or German village. They want to live among people, just average Russians and French and everybody, because we have so many different nations. So when they come, what they are looking for mostly is they're kind of finding a way how to, apply themselves here. If they're older, they can do it as well, because they manage to get their pension from abroad. And there are options, definitely, despite of the SWIFT. Russians are very smart doing this stuff. And we will not disclose the pathway, of course, but you will figure it out. So there are at least 3 I know of, all legal. So actually they managed to take their money here, and they just buy property. There are certain areas like in Nizhny Oblast, in Nizhny Novgorod. There is a wonderful guy, German guy, Remo Kirsch. He purchased a huge land, and he sells houses. So if you just want this peaceful and quiet life, and you just want to contemplate and everything, and you kind of believe that you are in the age of contemplating, I don't like old, contemplating age, wise age, then you just, go and do it.
Like I heard about this guy because my relatives are living in Nizhny Novgorod. Mm-hmm. And I saw an interview with him on local regional TV that he is promoting this lifestyle.
He speaks no word in Russian. Yeah, and he's just okay. He was granted personally by President Putin his citizenship, and he is very well, no problem.
But he was traveling in Russia a lot, he told that, before he chose that region to relocate.
Smart.
Yeah. Then, that just talking about language, moving to a new country can be tough, we know that. When it comes to language barriers, especially, finding work, adjusting to a different way of life. Does the program provide any support, like free Russian courses, for example, or help with the job placement? Or maybe there are certain skills needed or searched for among immigrants?
Typically, people manage language themselves. They find private tutors, and they don't need free language courses or something like that. Because look, we saw Europe. We saw what happened if you start offering free this, free that, free that. Mm-hmm. No, give opportunity. We give people opportunity to purchase their home, to go to a good school, to live in a nice, safe, and peaceful environment, and they're more than happy. They're not looking for free breakfasts. That's why they choose their tutor. We don't put them on certain classes with certain people in, horrible basements. No, you choose your tutor. You can learn language. If you don't want to learn language, you do not learn the language. And there are many foreigners living here without language. And for your kids, see? And for your kids, it's also fine. For kids, let me give you advice. So for kids, the best way to learn Russian or any foreign language is to go to get some sports. Because when they do sports, they relax and they pick the language easily. No problem. We also have different international schools, and you can get your kid to a school where the curriculum is in English and get an international diploma. No problem at all. So in terms of adjusting, what people are looking for is they're looking for the social community. And Russians are very friendly. When they see a foreigner, they're like, oh, that's interesting. Let's invite him or her to visit us. And the typical question they're asking, you're from Switzerland? What are you doing here in Russia?
For many, the idea of settling in rural Russia is particularly appealing, but it can be a tough place to live. Are there any resources in the program to help migrants prepare for and adapt to the unique challenges of rural living?
They know what they're doing. Meaning these are adults, these are families. You don't need to give them classes in agriculture, seriously. The only thing that they're looking for is maybe like a cross-cultural something, like learning a little more about Russia, just because they want to. The Russia houses in every single country still working. In every country of Eastern and Western Europe, you go ahead to the Russia house, you can get their classes, how to learn language, see Russian ballet and talk to the Russians right there and learn the big geography. And now everything is online also. So, well, no. So people who choose to live in a village, they know what they're doing. If they're adults with kids, they will never misstep. Meaning they will come in advance. Like I have this wonderful family moving to Ivanska Oblast. They're from Austria. Wonderful family. So they've been living quite a while around, and they're moving now to Ivanska Oblast, to Gavilov Posad. A wonderful family. So they do know what is housing. They do know what they're looking for when they mean agriculture, because some people just want a garden. It does not mean to become a farmer. Some people want to farm for themselves. It happens sometimes. They need space and, high-speed internet and the occupation for their kids. They don't need classes in agriculture, like not at that age, okay?
One practical question we have had often is about managing finances from abroad. You mentioned that, especially since Russia is currently out of SWIFT. How can new migrants navigate financial transactions and manage their funds effectively?
Well, as I mentioned, there are at least 3 ways, and you will figure it out. Because if I call them up, then the evil Westerners are going to ban this path. They're all legal, all okay, all just exist using existing banks. That's it. It's not that complicated as people say it is. By using your search system, whatever you use, Google or something, you can definitely find a way.
So don't afraid, you can bring your money into Russia. Okay, then that is interesting. That's our friend from Australia. He has been interested in moving to Russia for a long time. And he shared some interesting information with us. He heard from someone, I don't know the name, who handles applications for English-speaking countries, that after Trump's election in the United States, the number of applications from Americans actually went down.
No, that's not true. I don't know who, I mean, I love this most. It's like when you read your European news by anonymous European diplomat, they said that Trump is such and such. Come on, like show your face, okay? No, actually, it's still up, and here's why. Just a couple of words. This is what people say. They say that we have a family, which means we do not measure our life in a 4 or 5 years term. Done. So now in the United States, Democrats just have to sit and wait. And the whole world will be shut down. If you're a family, if you have children, you know that Russia is forever. And you know that the United States will change every presidential term. They will switch their policies. And by the way, talking about the banning of LGBT, have you heard that Trump banned LGBT at schools, right?
Something like that.
Yeah. Here's the trick. The United States always has tricks. Only for public schools having federal funding. Oh. Less than 10%. So for the rest...
The majority, they are private.
For the rest, no. They are state-owned or city-owned or private. So in those schools, guess what? They still have LGBT curriculum. So people are moving to Russia because that's, and for years when the President Trump is gone, because there will be a new president, they will rewrite everything again. I mean, would you invest as a family So in 4 years, your kids will be retaught to LGBT again. No, it's too much. It's too many experiments on the kids. No experiments on the kids. You come to Russia, you get your stable life for centuries ahead, and you know that nobody will ever even touch the place where your relatives are buried, because we never broke even one monument, ever. Because we value our generations and we value our kids and generations to come. That's the way Russia is.
Yeah, I didn't know that actually, that on this, because when we see something on the surface,
The cheaters.
okay, this is an opinion. Well, but among the comments we had under our video, there are a lot of funny ones. So if you allow me, I will let.
Go ahead.
I will read.
Only if they're not coming from anonymous European diplomat. Well, I could take this too in a way.
Well, do I have to give up my original citizenship if I agree to move to Russia?
No, Russia allows dual and 3 and 5 citizenships at one.
Okay, so one, that's one is our favorite. Russia is doing this to send people to the battlefront.
We have enough people and we're winning the war. Next.
If Westerners resettle in Russia, will they integrate into society and live among everyone else? Or will they end up isolated neighborhoods like an American village?
No, they will not be isolated, and they don't want to be isolated, because we have, guess what? Czech beer, French wine, Italian pasta, Bulgarian, how we call carp in Russian? I don't know, the special Bulgarian fish, because I cooked it. We have wonderful German sausages, guys, and all of these places are owned by foreigners. The foreigners have been here since 15th and 16th century, and they are completely okay. They've been generals and chefs and they work in pharmaceutical. Definitely, they would do whatever they want in Russia, because Russia is very, very welcome country. If Western media says you the opposite, that's exactly what you shall do. I mean, what they say you not do, do this, because we already know where is the truth.
It's funny. I think a lot of skepticism that stems from the negative portrayals of Russia in the Western media over the years. So we know that. Could you help us reassure our viewers on these issues?
Watch bloggers, go to bloggers, go to those, just Google them. My experience living in Russia, there are many foreigners who actually do the blogging. One of them is Countryside Anchors. I love this Canadian family from, again, Nizhny Novgorod, and they're doing like a, real reality show. So every day I follow them. So they're awesome. And many people, I just know that through them, many people make their choice to live in Russia. And I also love this guy. On YouTube, his channel is Survive in Russia. He has about 260,000 followers. His name is Lars, he's Dutch. And the channel is Survive in Russia. So my first thought was, oh, he's probably, looking for the worst things in Russia and showing it. No, he's kind of a redneck. And he shows how real man should be and how you really should survive. He's hunting. He is, making his banya. Oh, he's tough. And I love him. He, by the way, recently came to Moscow just to visit me. He lives in a village in the middle of nowhere in the pure land of wonderful forest in Kirovsky Oblast. I'm a deputy from Kirovsky Oblast, so I know it. No, you don't need to vote for me, okay? That's okay.
We were talking a lot about foreigners, for the benefits of the foreigners if they come, but how this program help to preserve Russia's culture and tradition for us, for Russians.
Russia is a multi-language, multinational land, and the way how we exist is how we bring all these cultures and languages together. We have Tatars, we have Greek community, German community, native Russians community, Yakuts. We have people living on the Far East, little tribes in Altai and everywhere, and we all coexist. Because, you know, the beauty is not to have a universal person. The beauty is of having differences that are kind of working with each other and helping, advancing each other. For instance, Europe, that's what Europe used to be before they built this crazy European Union, everybody universal idea. Italy, oh my gosh, I've been in Rome. You cannot cancel Michelangelo, okay? But Americans are canceling him. They're canceling because they take their jeans, their bubble gum, and they go to those places where when I was there, I was afraid to breathe, because that's ancient Asian culture that you can touch. How can you cancel Voltaire from France? How you can cancel Picasso? How can you forget what is Lord Byron, My Heart in the Highlands from the Great Britain culture? Okay, there are so many pieces in Europe also of all these nations benefiting each other that now is a universal Baerbock or with Ursula von der Leyen or whoever Scholz is there. They are neglecting. That's what I'm trying to have here in Russia, and why I'm so passionate about this project is actually to preserve the human being, the pieces of culture from every single country that is now they're trying to erase. Nothing bad about Trump, nothing bad about some other leaders, but please let people be different.
Well, dear friends, we have to close for today, but I hope that we will see Maria once again. So if you have any questions, again, please write down. We have all of them here, and we will pass them to Maria to give you complete replies, and subscribe to Think BRICS.
Well, and also because they're about to close, I can say a couple of words to the camera. Next time, ask them and put like and subscribe if you want to see them in the Duma. So they actually interview me in my office, and it looks like a palace. So if you like this video and you ask questions, you will get a peek into the Duma corridors existing from the 17th century, I think. That's a little secret.
Thank you, Maria.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.